Hello there, and welcome to Jeff and Richard's Tripe and Whatnot F the News Show, Episode 3. Now, do you remember that Brexit-hating, arm intervention-loving plumber, Charlie Mullins, the so-called DynoRod Stewart, who, I think, was going to leave the country? Well, he's going to stand in the council elections in May for Nigel Farage's Reform UK. Talking to GB News, he said, "I've been asked if I'd like to do it by Nigel, and yeah, why not? Anything to get Labour out and get reform in, I think," he said. And he posted out on X, "Reform UK will take major amounts of seats in this year's local elections, and I'll be one of the winners here. You cannot turn the tide. We are coming to fix the UK of all its problems." Yeah, well, there you go, Charlie Mullins. I've got to ask, what is going on? Reform ditches Ben Habib and Howard Cox to take on Mullins? As Reform UK rises in the polls, is this going to be a case of snatching defeat from the jaws of victory? Does Nigel really want to win? Just asking. So, Richard, what on earth do you make of that?
Superb. You couldn't make it up. You really couldn't. Okay, so I'm just going back to an old article in The Guardian here. Plimco plumbers to introduce no jab, no job work contracts. Move comes amid concerns about COVID anti-things, but may have legal implications. So there we go. Charlie Mullins, Plim close. But I can never pronounce it. It's one of those things like she shells. Anyway, the founder and former chief executive, now chairman, said the company's lawyers will draft the new employment contracts for 400-strong workforce to include the requirement. Although employment lawyers question whether it be legally enforceable. I mean, this tells you everything you need to know about the man. I remember at the time he was coming on GB News and various other shows, and he was just telling people, you have a moral obligation to get this. If you don't, you're some kind of idiot. And I think, good grief. And he was against Brexit, as I recalled there, Jeff. Yeah. So, all right, so you've got an anti-Brexiteer, pro-arm thing, who wants to be a councillor for reform, and he's been welcomed in. As you rightly said, you've just lost Ben Habib and Howard Cox. Brilliant men. And I'll add Gawain Towler to that list as well. The man in the background. I know I'm going about Gawain, but he is a very, very clever man. And a lot of you don't know who he is, but, superb people have been kicked out, and all of a sudden you've got Charlie Mullins coming in. Do you know what? It does feel like that time when Farage said that he wanted to get Tony Blair in to be the intervention czar. Sorry, squeaking on my chair.
And don't forget that Richard Tice and Dr. Bull were very pro, weren't they?
Yes, I know. Well, there we go. That says it all to me. I don't want to talk about reform right now, to be honest with you.
You don't?
No, I think they're just. It's starting to get a bit sour, really. The taste in my mouth regarding them. You never know. They might pull themselves together before the general election, and hopefully they will. But right now, it's not a good look anyway when it comes to reform. They just seem to be, tripping over landmines left, right, and Chelsea. And I think, not good. Over to you, mate.
Anyway, to change the subject entirely, they found a successor to Rachel Reeves because she's on the ropes and everyone's saying she's got to go soon. Well, they found someone to replace her, which they think is going to be fantastic, an absolute massive improvement, and will bring the country right out. Yeah, I've got a picture here of the replacement here. Yeah, so this is the replacement to Rachel Reeves, a cabbage, basically, or a lettuce or whatever it is, a piece of... Yeah, but it's going to be much better than Rachel Reeves, because anything is better than Rachel Reeves on the economy right now, because we're going down the tubes, as we discussed last night. So there you go. That's where we're going with the new Chancellor of the Exchequer. What do you think, Richard?
Yes, that's definitely an improvement. Okay,
Yes.
right, all right then. So now, ladies and gentlemen, here's the bit you've all been looking forward to. Okay, so we're going to start breaking down the headlines, the other headlines that we've got here. And I have to go to a headline I missed yesterday, okay? It's in the Telegraph. AI Brad Pitt persuades woman to divorce husband and hand over 800,000 euros, or is it dollars? It looks like. I've got the right glasses on. Sorry, it's totally tickled me. Interior designer files legal complaint for fraud and opens crowdfunding account to cover legal costs after scam left her almost penniless. Now, I suggest you all eventually after this video go and look up this thing about the AI Brad Pitt. You see the photos. They are absolutely hysterical. It's quite clearly not Brad Pitt. It's some really bad Photoshop and whatever's gone into this. But oh my days, it just goes to show you how emotionally connected people can become to digital input. And that is, it's very scary. And I have no doubt in the future, people will completely fall in love with this artificial intelligence. And people say, oh, I'll never do that. This thing will know you better than you know yourself. It'll talk to you in the most comforting ways. It'll know everything. But anyway, that's by the by. Okay. And now Dan Wootton would love this. Dan Wootton, if you're watching, you're going to love this one. So I'll do a bit of a Dan impression. Meghan Markle's new Netflix show dubbed Flop in Waiting as Duchess given brutal verdict. Yeah. Apparently, so her new show that's coming out now, contradicting yesterday's reports, incidentally, was criticised by a royal commentator who named it a flop in waiting. Yes, the Duchess of Sussex. No, I'm not going to read anymore. I'm sorry. I just lost the will to live. I completely lost the will to live there. Sorry. Moving on to the next bit of incredibly important news. And this is in the Daily Mirror. Oh, goodness gracious me. Here we go. Oh, good grief. Shop Stacey Solomon's game-changing trouser hanger hack that will save half your wardrobe space. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Now the new year is in full swing. It's probably time to have a January reset or clear out if you haven't done so already. And the queen of space-saving hacks, Stacey Solomon, has just shared the genius way she shares all her trousers to save on her wardrobe space. There you go. How did you've got to read that, people. It looks
how
important.
Did we function
without
it?
The financial meltdown taking place. Forget the economy being destroyed. Forget our country being overrun by things I won't mention. But yes, there we go. And here we actually let's get on to a little bit more serious note.
Actually, I just want to intervene with something a little bit more serious. Now, what I want you to do, ladies and gentlemen, is please help me make some sense of this one. Angela Rayner has put in place new rules. That means councils that keep their council tax low will get less central government funding. That's right. Councils who are not profligate with your money are going to be punished by Labour because they're going to withhold money from them and give it to councils that charge more council tax. In fact, it looks like the more council that a council taxes you locally, the more money they will get from central taxation via the Treasury, on the basis that it would be somehow wrong for the government to reward councils that have been able to keep their council tax levels down. They are turning the waste of taxpayers' money into a science. What an encouragement for all those councils to whack up their local taxes as far as they are able and then cast about for ways of spraying it up any available wall. Pay one set of workers to dig holes and another to follow them to fill them back in again. Good socialist use of money, you know. Then central government will have to hammer taxpayers for more dosh to raise the extra money they're farming out to councils. 4.5 more years of this communist drivel, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we've got to bear. God, just makes you...
Well, hang on, let me play devil's advocate here. Maybe, just maybe, it's not such a bad idea. Yes, I am playing devil's advocate, but partially. Okay, so councils. If councils and local authorities are encouraged more to raise their own funds, okay, then surely, to goodness, then our other taxes should be lowered as we decentralize everything and bring everything back to the county level, which I've always thought was I'd rather that. I'd rather pay my more council tax and less tax to that lot in Westminster. But my point here is, and this is quite interesting, there are certain parts of the country where, let's just say, people are economically inactive, okay? And I think we know the places I'm talking about, where large parts of the population are economically inactive. So that means that all of a sudden they're going to have to start stumping up more money. They're not going to get their freebies from central government. So that is something to think on there, Jeff.
No, it's not what it says. It says that if you don't tax locally, you won't get as much central money. So what's going to happen?
That's what I mean.
Is they're going to tax more locally, so they get more money from central government. So overall, the taxpayer has to pay far more than they were before, which is ridiculous.
My point is that they shouldn't. My point, though, is that they shouldn't be doing that. There should be an encouragement, though, to tax heavier locally. That's fine. I think that's okay, as long as it's offset by a reduction in tax nationally. So I'm thinking Angela Rayner, she's got half of it right.
All right, I'll sort of give you that one, but no, they just can't do anything properly, can they? They just have to fudge it all over. At the end of the day, it's all about socialism. It's not about making the country any richer, or the only growth you're going to see is a growth in socialism, and that's just going to destroy us anyway.
Okay.
Now,
go on.
I promised yesterday to give some money to the Maggie Oliver Fund, and I did. The Maggie Oliver we've lost Richard. The Maggie Oliver Patrick Christie's Fund is now standing at 290,000 quid or thereabouts and going up. So this is about the victims of the groomers, giving the money to support them, because basically the government, the uniparty governments, have just dismissed them all, got rid of them. We don't care, blah, blah, blah. And also it's looking like it might be used as well to fund some of the inquiries, as I said yesterday. So we could actually do well to add to this fund, because the more you do, the more likely it is that the government will have to take notice. And we've now got Richard back. I think we had a bit of an internet problem there.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Oh, well.
No, just going over, the Maggie Oliver Fund has increased 290,000 quid. Yeah.
Superb.
Yes. So, anyway, one of the comments here is this one. PM Starmer is to repeal Troubles legislation, allowing claims of damages to made by the likes of Jerry Loughgall Adams. Yes, this was the next one on my list, because the Labour Party is trying to quietly change the law to allow those held in detention without trial for being suspected of IRA membership during the Troubles in Northern Ireland over 50 years ago, so they can sue for compensation. Those like Jerry Adams, as pointed out by Art Hostage. They're changing the rules to get this: make the law comply with the ECHR. Now, the Policy Exchange think tank, backed by 16 prominent lawyers and former judges and ministers, said it would cost millions in payouts for meritless claims, reports The Times. It sounds to me like this Labour administration is hell-bent on appeasement and national destruction. It'll be rewarding the groomers next. if it hasn't already started doing so. What do you think to that?
I'm just completely shocked by it. Jerry Adams, this man was a well-known. I'm not going to say anymore. Yeah, I'm not saying anymore, Jeff, because I have to be careful what we say on here. Okay, I'm just going to go straight over though to some piece of news here. UK this is in the BBC, and I noticed the BBC, the Guardian, and the Independent all run with pretty much the same story. And this is important, ladies and gentlemen, because you get to understand the way that the media manipulates you, which hence the reason for this morning show. So, UK inflation unexpectedly dips 2.5% in December. That same sort of headline has been replicated across the Guardian and the Independent and a few other sort of lefty-leaning papers. And you think, oh, fantastic news, But then again, I just pop over to the Sun then, and I will say this: the headline here is Cuts Hint. Embattled Rachel Reeves opens door to emergency spending cuts as market chaos piles pressure on public services. So you're given a little bit of, we might have had a little bit of a dip in inflation. Nothing, from okay, so what are we looking here? 2.5% down from 2.6% the month before. I mean, this is negligible. It's absolutely negligible. Yet it has been framed as if Rachel Reeves has now saved the entire British economy. And this is what you need to get in your minds. This has been framed in a certain way. Embattled Rachel Reeves opens door, as I said, to spending cuts. So the reality of the situation is there are going to be massive spending cuts. We're going to see austerity on steroids under Labour if they're going to save the economy at all and save the nation's ability to actually borrow. That's the problem here. We have a real bad situation where we might face the complete collapse of our public sector. So, and that would have been under a Labour government. I find that quite interesting there, Jeff. But moving on again from the BBC.
I just got to point out, Dareth Gillard here. He says a lettuce is better than Rachel, of course it is.
Oh, Jeff, we're good at granddad jokes, but that's a standout one. That is.
Yes, it is, isn't it? Right.
Okay, so just going back over to the BBC here.
Yeah.
And just how things are framed and placed in front of you. They hired Banksy for £50, then painted over his mural. For years, people have tried and failed to uncover details about Bristol's most famous yet anonymous graffiti artist, Banksy. Photos of him and stories of blah, 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 blah. But apparently, anyway, at this youth club, they got him to paint this mural and they painted over it. Yeah. There we go. Earth-shattering news once again. Really important stuff.
I will just point out about this, this inflation thing. I mean, because Rachel Reeves and her is the whole systems decided that we're going to destroy the UK economy, and people are worried, they don't spend so much money over Christmas as they normally do, which I think is what happened. Retail sales weren't particularly good, economy not particularly good. So what happens is that businesses have to reduce their prices, and that puts inflation down a bit. Doesn't mean that the economy is on the mend in any way whatsoever.
Well, exactly.
It's more likely, people are more likely now to pay down any any credit card debt and loans they've got, because they can see that things might be going wrong, so they're not going to be quite so happy to spend, and that'll drive down inflation. Oh yeah, and interest rates will come down again.
But don't forget, we've got a debt-based monetary supply as well here. So if people are taking out less debt, then all of a sudden the financial position of the banks looks a bit more precarious. Our entire system is run on debt.
Yes,
debt is wealth.
That's a problem. So it could all be a bit of a problem there. But there you go. I just can't sort of going for growth, and all we're growing is our national debt, the deficit, and the numbers of people that the government are going to be taking on, you can imagine that, right? That they'll turn round to the head civil servants and say, we must cut 10% in all departments. And the first thing that all the departments will do is take on extra people to work out where to cut.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
That's how this sort of thing works.
Oh, yes.
Dear.
You need a full report prepared for you as well on where to cut.
Yeah.
Yes. That'll cost more than any potential future cuts. It's just how it's how the system works. You've got people who haven't got a clue what they're doing. Oh dear.
Yes. Oh, I just don't know what to make of it all. Anyway, it's it's all good fun, isn't it? Looking at the state of play at the moment, and but I think we've exhausted our little fun this morning. To be honest, there wasn't actually that much out there, really. But,
well, there is one other thing.
Oh, you got one other thing?
Yes, it's in the Telegraph, and this is incredibly important. Okay.
All right.
I don't know if this actually makes any sense in English, and I'm somebody who's prone for word salads, but it says, what the way you hold your coffee cup says about you.
Right, okay.
It's a small but telling detail in your daily routine that reflects your personality, values, and lifestyle. So how do you hold yours? Sorry, this is... I can't read anymore. I can't read anymore.
It's quite funny because if you go into one of the well-known high street brands, you get given one of those cups that is just a plastic, and you just hold it like that, don't you? Just like that. Whereas if it's a cup or a mug, you can hold it with 3 fingers or 2 fingers. But if it's a twee little coffee cup, then you've got to hold it like this, haven't you? With your little finger out, your pinky out.
Those plastic cups you get for those, it's like when I go with my wife and if we ever have a coffee out, I have to get about 3 napkins to wrap around it to stop it from burning your skin. And why are we even having this conversation, Jeff? This is, who gives an absolute flying,
You've got to remember, Richard.
It's important. That's news. It's all about selling.
We are part of the controlled opposition, aren't we? So we have to come out with stories like this.
Absolutely. But ladies and gentlemen, all we're trying to do is get you to reframe. So when those papers, when those headlines hit you, when you open up your tabs on your computer, on your phone, or you buy the actual physical paper, you have it properly framed. This is what's happening to you. You're being played, okay? It's all rubbish. It means nothing. Yeah. Most of the news out there, most of it, and then you've got the actual headlines that do have some kind of significance, like the Rachel Reeves one and the inflation one. But you need to understand that that's been framed as well to alter the way you perceive the state, the government. It's cogs within cogs, wheels within wheels. There you go. Right, Jeff.
Yes, anyway,
I need to go and have some eggs.
You do you? Right. Okay. Yeah. I need to go and find my coffee cup, and then I've got to read that Telegraph article to find out how I should be holding. Is there a power way of holding it? So everybody looks at you and says, "Oh, he's a powerful person," or is there something like, or is it a sexy way of holding it? We've got to know.
I think it's I think it's probably going to be the facial expression. It's not the way you hold the cup; it's the facial expression with which you put behind it. So if you're for instance a liberal lefty, you're like, okay. If you're and if you're a good, strong, hard man, like,
yeah,
and that's it. That's all there is to it. And of course, if you're a nice, decent lady and you're with traditional values, it's like. So there you go. Yeah. There you go. That Jeff would be practicing all of those moves in front of the mirror when we come off air. I can tell you.
As Stephen Garner says, you hold it by the handle. There you go. Hold it by the handle. So yeah. Anyway, and on that note, I've got
holding a coffee cup by the handle. What?
And on that note, what I've got to say is, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on this video. And thank you very much for everybody for watching. And we'll catch you later. And it's good morning from me.
And it's good morning from him. Good morning.